Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Michaela and I'm going to do with you a new pattern today. It's actually a pole dance top, but it can be used as a sporty top. Why not? I'm planning to use it for both things, both sporty and my pole dance collection. So as you can see here, I've laid out the front. Yeah, it has a transparent part in the middle. If you know, I've already done a little bit of a similar pattern with the transparency, but this time it's the V goes up. Last time it was coming down like that. I've cut here my main fabric and my lining. They are all cut, and this is a mesh lycra. I want to say that it's a very stretchy fabric. Perhaps it's about 100 grams, and it's really stretchy. And I've got here the back parts as well. This would be one, and this would be actually the center, like that, and that will be obviously the other side. Okay, also I've got here what I will be using for binding, and in this video I will actually show how I would do my binding if I wouldn't have a cover stitch with a binding attachment. I actually do this, I do have it, but I would like to show you how this could be actually done without it. And I've chosen a very visual color. I will leave the I'll leave the measurements of the bindings in the pattern. But what I wanted to say, because you're asking me sometimes, I would actually always cut enough binding, and then you can still trim of what you need. Don't cut just cut enough, yes, that you are having some room to wiggle with, and then once you've done it, then you can trim to what exactly you will be needed, right? I do this actually measuring once it's sewn in. Okay, and have here my underbust band. I will be cutting a piece of elastic of about 2 centimeters, and I will be sewing in with an elastic band. I did show this in a lot of my videos. Most of the time for the tops, I always add elastic in the underbust band, right? So let's get started, and I will put the back to the side a little bit, and I want to start with the front, right? I will be showing you one side, but have in mind that the other side should be actually just mirrored, yes? And what I do actually first, I will separate my lining fabric from the main fabric, and I take my mesh, right, and I would actually place it on top of my main fabric. Since mesh, it's hard to pin because obviously it will slide and stuff. I'm just going to use these clips. They're very useful when you're dealing with mesh, obviously. Like that, and like that. And I'm taking my normal sew machine. I've threaded with a pretty visual thread, actually, so it's easier for you to see it. And I did add an extra lamp for my sew machine, since I'm struggling sometimes to see very good, but I will try to move it away that you're not having it in the way. All right, so I'm placing I'll be doing this. This is a bust stitching, and I'll be doing this bust stitching, highest stitch length, straight stitch. And this is just because I don't want to be sewing over 3 layers of fabric out of a sudden, so I will be separating the mesh with the main fabric, and then I will be adding the lining. So whoops, sometimes this happens when the mesh is very very soft. So let me just check if everything is well threaded. Okay, second try. I always have the mesh on top because if I put it underneath, the machine will kind of like try to eat it. I don't know if it makes sense, but it can happen. With very thin fabrics, this can happen. So yeah, as you can see, I'm not pulling anything. I'm just practically guiding. And like I said, this is a bust stitching. If you've watched any of my videos, you know I do this quite a lot, and afterwards I do these little cuts into it. Why? Because I want to allow stretch. Afterwards, I'm serging. If you do not have a serger, you can use a zigzag stitch. That's always possible. It's not as professional, but it definitely does a good job, right? So, all right, I did over here the bust stitching, and now it's the time to add the lining part. I like to always sew when I'm serging. I like to always sew with the lycra part in front, so facing me, the lycra, the main fabric facing me. You will not need to add any elastic for this bit, and I will be just serging it. And like I said, if you do not have a serger, you can always use a zigzag stitch. I do, and for the speed, I prefer using it. So yes, I'm placing it under, like I said, no elastic, so that's quite fast. Okay, I've serged already my my all 3 layers of fabric, and in order not to be your lining moving and being visual, I always recommend to do a top stitch. In this case, the top stitching should be done with a zigzag stitch, or if you do have a cover stitch, it's recommendable. I do have a cover stitch, and I usually use my cover stitch for today. And right now I will be actually showing you a zigzag stitch, but first I am actually pinning because I don't want my fabric to move. I find it a little bit annoying, so I'm actually pinning the 2 layers of fabric like that, so nothing is moving. And I will just do another bust stitching underneath, because I find it easy afterwards to work with the bust stitching already done. Perhaps. All right. I'll be just doing this part and the upper one. Oops. Start from here. I do this so I avoid that my fabric is not moving when I want to top stitching right now. Afterwards, I will be unstitching at least a part. So for the top stitching, I chose a zigzag stitch, and I will be reducing it to about 3.5. And I do go very close to the edge. And as you can see, I'm slightly pulling the fabrics. And a tiny bit of that on fourth, so nothing is coming unraveled. All right, and I've got here my one side ready. So like I said, for the for the second part, I will remove this. So if it's annoying you, you can do like me, a top stitching and a top stitching. I did it as I didn't want this bit to move, but I will be removing it, and you will understand soon why. But before before I tell you that, what I will do off camera, I will actually mirror my my other side, right? This would be my left side, my right side. I'll be mirroring, and I will be doing exactly the same thing I did on this side, but I don't want to bore you with doing it on video, because otherwise the video will be too long. I will be doing this off camera, right? Like I said, first I'll do the bust stitching on the main fabric. I'll be placing it on top just like that, pin, bust stitching. Once this is done, I will be placing my lining on top like this, and then I will be serging it the same way and do the top stitching exactly the same way like I did the other side. Once it's done, I'll come back to show you how we're gonna work on the back piece. Okay, so like I said, I did the other side off camera. I have it here prepared, and I have left it aside, and now we will work on the back piece. And it's actually so similar to the front piece, right? Like you see, I've placed already the fabric, so it's easier for you to see. In the pattern, it is indicated which is the back part and which is the side part, but nevertheless, I recommend to use a kind of a pin that you don't get confused, right? So like we did before, I'm going to turn the back part, I'm going to turn it over the mesh on top of the lycra fabric, and I'm going to place it a little bit of point coming out, so the seam allowance, it's covering well. And the same like before, I'm doing first a bust stitch over, and I'll make the little cut into it like this, on the other side as well. And now I will be adding the lining. I'll place it straight on top. I will be pinning it and serge it directly. Actually, I only need one pin, sorry. So I'm going to my serger, and same like before, I'm serging with the lining underneath. Okay. And the same like before, I want to do the top stitching because I don't want the fabric to look like this. So I'm turning the zigzag stitch and I'm going straight ahead to top stitching. On this part I find it easier without any bust stitching, but I'm going to go slow. So top stitching, what you have to make sure that you're pulling a little bit on each side, that you're covering well. Okay, one side is done. Now we will be working on the other side. Of course, these little threads, you can always remove them. I always like to remove them a little bit later. So next part, like before, I place the mesh on top of my lycra, just the lycra part, bust stitching. Afterwards I will be serging it, and once I'm done, I'll be adding the front. I will be adding it to the front piece. I just want to show you because it's a little bit tricky, this part. Since obviously this is only one piece of lining underneath, it's not made out of two pieces, so I want to show you how it should be done. All right, so we've got, in this moment, we've got our mesh sewn into the main fabric, right? And what you want to do right now, you want to place the lining on top, right? So I've separated it in case you have it like this. Obviously, separate the lining and then place it on top. Like I said, I always like to turn it with my main fabric facing me, and I'm going ahead straight to serge it. Also, you should be very careful that you're only sewing over the 3 layers of fabric, and you're not sewing or cutting into the other layer of mesh, right? So be extra careful with that. Okay, once you've serged it, you just turn it like that on the right side, and now top stitching on this side. And actually, for this piece, I will be doing it off camera. I will be doing a bust stitching on everything, bust stitching down, up, all the sides. I want to have my my 2 layers of fabric together, right? Okay, so I've got here my front piece, I've got my back piece all prepared, and what we're going to do, we're going to connect them. All right, so what do we want? We want the back piece to be turned this way, as it will be the right side, like that. Yes, we will place the front piece on top of it, right? Is for you to actually get a good visualizing of how the top would look like. So we place the front piece on top of the back piece, right? I'm going to separate the lining part, right? And in this very moment, I'm going to bring like that. I'm going to bring the lining on top of the on top of the sorry, I'm going to bring the mesh on top of the front piece, the mesh of the back piece on top of the front piece. Sorry, got a little problem. So like before, I'm going to do a bust stitch, and I'm going to work just on one side. I know that perhaps you will want to work on the both sides in the same time, but no, it's not a good idea, as it's going to be more difficult to do all the process and hide the seam. So bust stitching is done, and now I'm going to add the lining over. So in this way we concealed the seam in between, so it's not visual from any side. Right, so like before, I have here sewn just the main fabric with the lining, and I'm going to do something you would call a burrito, and I'm going to bring the lining on top of the 2 layers of fabric over there, and I go straight to my serger and go ahead and serge it. Okay, that's done. Now I'm going to turn it on the right side of the fabric. You will see now the seam is hidden, not visual from any side. I'm going to do a top stitching over like before. I don't want my stitch to be seen. Tiny bit back and forth, and like I said before, slightly pulling. Okay, here and here. So now you have this piece already, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing, placing the front piece on top of the back piece, as it's so much easier to understand it. But since it's very difficult right now, it's one piece, there's only one way of doing it, is placing it like that on top over. How to know that you're correct is because you're matching the main fabric with the main fabric on top of each other. The same, I'm going to do the bust stitching just for the main fabric and the mesh, right? And then I'm going to do the burrito part once again and add the lining. Once I've added the lining, obviously I will be top stitching it, and off camera what I will also do, and I will give you the instructions, or everything already so easy. I'm going to do a bust stitching over here, bust stitching over here, and the bottom part. Why? Because I want to secure the 2 layers of fabric, that they're not moving, in order to be able to add the the binding part. Okay, I'll be doing all that off camera. Once I'm done, I'll come back with the next step. Okay, so my top is already prepared. I'm so excited. It's starting to look already much more beautiful. And I am going to take my one of my binding straps, right? And I am going to divide it into like that. And I'm going to place it on top of the half. Why? Because this binding half will go actually towards the as a strap over the shoulder. So this top has 2 straps, right, and will go over the shoulder. So I need it to be more long. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going straight to my serger, and I've placed the right side on top of the, obviously, right, what would be right side of my top, right? And I'm going to I'm going to serge it completely. Actually, I should have pinned it one more time. I'm going to pin it right now. Okay, now I'm getting already closer to my top part, and as you can see, I'm going quite slow because obviously I want to serge well over my mesh part, over the top part. Of course, if you don't have a serger or an overlocker, you should do this with your zigzag stitch from a normal sew machine. I do this with my serger since it's so much faster. And I'm going over, covering it, and do this right until the end. I just want to say that I actually did this technique for a very long time before I before I had my cover stitch machine, and this is how it will be looking, right? It's not the end. You'll be afterwards folding it inside and once more, and then it will be looking like this. So what you have to do now, on the wrong side of your strap, you're going to place it one more time on top, and I'm going to add my elastic. And for this step, I actually highly recommend the elastic. Like, I would almost say do not do it without elastic, and I will explain you in a minute why. But first I'm going to serge everything. I cut it before the elastic because I know that I have the strap a little longer. So right now my top is looking a little bit like this, right? With a strap looking strange, isn't it? Yes, it is. So I will explain you now the next step and why it's so important adding elastic, because the next thing you're going to do, you're going to fold it inside, And then once more, sorry, I turned it so you can see. I turned it on the lining side so you can see it better. So what I do, I fold once and I fold one more time. So I'm covering the stitch. I want to say this step is highly high time consuming, yes, but I want to say perhaps is the closest to the original binding, original binding with a binding attachment, but it takes you a long time, and you do want obviously to cover, to always make sure you have to go slow, and you always have to make sure that you're really covering everything. I did use stitch color or thread for you to be able to see it, but normally I always say please use same color as your fabric, right? I just feel like it's easier to show you steps when I'm using a different thread color. So like you see, I'm pinning this all around, and it takes forever. And perhaps you're gonna say, but why do you need to pin it? You're going to have to always keep adjusting and keep turning it inside with your fingers. You know, it's done in order to make sure that you're not pulling too much, and then one side of the fabric is not coming shorter than the other, which, believe me, it happened to me before, and undoing such a strap, believe me, it's hell. Unstitching zigzag stitch is one of the hardest unstitching which you'll ever do, so no errors allowed. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now, I am going to place it underneath. Obviously, I will not show everything on camera as it's going to take forever. But I am going to show you the most important steps. I'll be starting it. So I'm having a zigzag stitch, not too small. I want to make sure that it's covering well. Also in the past, because I do not like so much the look of the zigzag stitch, in the past I did, if you have, like what I used to like more is a triple zigzag stitch, and I'm not sure what was the length I used, perhaps like 5 and 2.5. Yes, so this was actually my favorite stitch. I do understand that not all sewing machines have this, but this, the triple zigzag stitch, it's really covering everything. So I hope you can see the difference over here. I will obviously continue with this, but you see the zigzag stitch can be smaller. Obviously you have to adjust it to the length, but overall I do prefer the triple zigzag stitch. And yes, I know it's a slow process, and you have to actually really try to go in a straight line, just like that. And obviously always make sure you are covering the stitch from underneath. Nevertheless, since what you've done, it was on the right side of the fabric, it's always looking better on the other side. So I just want to do a few stitches on the mesh part to show you how it will look on the other side. So as you can see, it looks really pretty. So now I will be doing this off camera and then I'll show you the next step. Okay, so I've got here my top with my strap finished, and look how beautiful looks this triple zigzag stitch. Is so pretty. And I actually forgot to tell you a very important information. When you're serging the part which is actually on the top, right, you should slightly pull your band when sewing the mesh, because otherwise it might kind of like wave. So you'll have to pull tiny bit the fabric of the band, right, not the top, the band. Okay, so you'll have to do that, otherwise it might wave a little bit. Next I will be actually adding the sides. I will be adding it exactly the same way. I will not be showing it on camera. I will be doing this off camera, but I wanted to say I'm going to measure about the same length I've left over here. I'm going to measure about the same length, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing, and I will try not to stitch too much over my band. I will be just a little tiny bit, because you don't want to overlap this band. You want to start stitching, but you'll be pulling it to the side. Okay, so I'll be doing it on the side all the way until the back over here. This band does not have to be longer than the back from here, right? So I'll be going it all along. I'll be doing the same thing. Obviously, everything I've done on this, I will be doing it the same with the top stitching, right? And then I will be doing on the other side, obviously, the same, right? Once I'm done, I will take a little bit of this fabric I've got left, and I will be doing just this tiny bit like that over a little bit, the same way we've done all the kind of like binding strap before, right? So I'll be doing this right on this little bit. Once I'm done with all what I've explained, I'll come back and I will be showing you how I'm measuring the straps and how I'm attaching it. It will actually be just a straight stitch to the back, but obviously if you have any doubts, I will show you how I'm practically measuring and attaching that last bit. And obviously I will be doing the underbust really as a last step with the elastic. So I've added one more strap to the side, and I just wanted to show you actually practically how to attach the other strap. What I did on this side, perhaps I forgot to add, but I will post it in a pattern. I did add the little part first, and then I added the band, which afterwards I will fold it in two. Please note that this is a test pattern and this is not a real pattern. That's why I'm using different color threads for you to be able to see it. But I just wanted to show you that first I did the little piece, and then I did the longer strap in the back, and I've started obviously from the back to front, and now I will actually do the same thing. I'm just going to trim a little more my back piece to the right measurement, and I will measure about this, right, perhaps just tiny bit more. I'll measure it, I will pin it. I just want to show you how I'm serging over this little, let's say, bulkier piece, right? Of course, if you don't have a serger, you can always do this with your normal sew machine. So I'm going to move my other strap to the side, and I'm going to be very, very careful that I'm not surging into it, but actually going slowly over it, right? And I go slow in this part. And once I'm over, slightly pulling the fabric. So of course, like before, I will be adding the elastic on this side, on the also the wrong side of the fabric. I'll be adding it just like that. Okay, and actually I just want to show you what I'm doing with these little pieces in the back, as obviously you know that I will be folding and top stitching here, but this little piece in the back, and I've got this little magical tool which is called, I think, a hump jumper. So what I do practically, I fold it like that in the back, and I will be doing like a straight stitch over here. If your sew machine gets upset with such thing, you place the hump jumper on the in the back of the foot, right? And then you will be placing your, obviously, your fabric which you need to stitch, right? If you need the help of your tweezers, you can slide it more under. In this case, I actually did. And what does the hump jumper? It actually helps you to do a straight stitch over, and then it jumps away. Until your foot of your sew machine can go over, right? So it doesn't have to be like a big stitch, but if you want to repeat, you should actually do the same movement, or once you have made already the first part, you see, for example, in my case, obviously I couldn't start it from the edge of the edge because of the thickness of the fabric. So now I'll place it the other way around, and I just try to slightly pull the fabric, and I did one more stitch over, right? I'll be trimming the little excess fabric over there like that, and this is how I hide my my binding part, right? Okay, so now I'll be doing off camera the other binding strap, and next thing I'm going to show you how I'm going to sew the underband for the top, and this is our last step before the top is finished. Okay, so we are really on the last step of this pattern. Actually, sorry, two small steps. And actually first would be attaching the back bands, right? So what is very important is the measurement. how I actually do it, once they are completely sewn in, I practically measure it this way. So I'm just like sliding it down. I obviously already measured it, so I'm just going to show you how I will attach the straps. Also, in the same time, I want to make sure that really everything is on centimeter equal, both back strap and center strap. Right, so now on the back piece, of course you can also do these adjustable straps, but it's a little more, I would say, complicated, as you will actually have to create like two sliders, like bra strap. I haven't created like that, but it's actually possible. I'm just going to show you one strap. So I'm actually doing just a straight stitch in the back band. So I take this strap and I turn it with the back and I sew it the closest to my binding, and the same like before. I just want to say, in case you're struggling with the thickness, look at my foot, for example. It's bending like really a lot. So I'm going to take my hump jumper and I place it here underneath like that. So in this way, the strap is, the stitch is it's equals. All right, and in the same way I'm going to attach the other straps, and in this moment I slightly lift and add the other, and I want to make sure that my foot is always down when I'm adding the straps. And one more, same way. And in case you would need to repeat this step, you should do it exactly the same way. Obviously with a hump jumper. Here you see my sew machine should have needed a little lift, but this is how you should go over it. Perhaps I'm gonna go from the front right now, and I'm going to stitch it slightly a bit closer to the edge. All right. Also, in case you don't have a hump jumper, you can always do this step by actually hand stitching. I'm honest to you, before I had a hump jumper, I also hand stitched, and it also looked good. Right, now we've got our straps sewn in, and the last bit will be the underbust band. For the underbust band, I'm going to fold it like that, place it on top of each other, and first thing first, I'm going to serge the edge. I did show a lot of times how to do the underbust band. You can add the elastic or not. In this video, I am going to add the elastic with you. I have here my elastic strap, and I'm going to show you how I'm stitching my elastic strap. So I take the elastic band and I place it like that on top of each other underneath, and we'll be doing a straight stitch, the same. Try to go a little bit back and forth, and my under bobbin, the under thread is finishing, so I'm just going to remove it and quickly change for another one. Okay, got here another color quickly. So I've got, in this point, I've got my elastic sewn and my strap sewn, and what I actually do, I place the elastic inside of my band, and I'm going to sandwich my elastic, and I do recommend pinning or using clips all around the elastic band, all around the band and the elastic band. So I'm just going to try to do this quickly. So like you see, the elastic is actually sandwiched underneath, and it allows me for the seam allowance not to surge over the elastic like this. Okay, just in case, I'm gonna use one more. What I'm going to do off camera right now, very fast, I'm going to do a bust stitching. You know already what the bust stitch means. It's actually just a straight stitch. I want to do this of course my 2 layers of fabric are not moving, and will be more free for when I'm serging. So I'll do this very fast off camera, and then I'll come back to show you the rest. Okay, so I've done my kitty wants to play a little bit, so sorry. I've done my underbust band, and I've got here my top, and the first thing I'm going to do, I'm kind of like going to place the band over my top like this, and I will make sure that the seam is not really bulking on top of the other seam, and I will try to pin all along. Please have in mind that the underbust band is slightly shorter, so you'll have to pull a little bit of the underbust band when you will be searching. Of course, that is why I recommend clipping it before, right? Okay, got here everything prepared, and I actually like to start from the non-bulkier part, and I just place the needle underneath. And like I say, when I'm serging, I will be slightly pulling the band, really not a lot, just tiny bit. Okay, the bust band is done, and the rest of the top is done as well. Look how beautiful it's looking. I hope you like it. I hope you enjoy it. If you have any questions, please feel free to write me. Happy sewing!